how you looking?
Ooh,
Like in like
good.
what do you have any
Good
like do you
morning.
have any like
Good afternoon. Good
pulses or anything
evening.
out there or how you looking? No.
Hello. All right. I think we're live. We're live. We are live. Let me get this thing over here so I can read this without my glasses. See who's in the room. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're live. We're live. How y'all doing, Postal family? Is everybody good? Is everybody cool? Everybody clean? Are you crisp? Are you feeling irie today? Let's talk. I skipped saying that my name is JH because everybody kind of knows that. And that's not really my name. All right, let me see who's in the room. Kim, we chat earlier. Shy, how you doing? Mailman Derek. We have a mailman named Derek. Maurice, how you doing, sir? Oh man, let's see what's going on. Chooch, is that a yo carriers? Foot soldier, how you doing, sir? Aaron, that's double A Ron. I can't really read that much. I lost my glasses. I'm going to be a slight bit animated today. For those that don't know and you're starting to watch this, is going to be a little stretch. How y'all doing? Um, I got a little bit of feedback and watched the interview with Mr. Renfro, and I was not happy about it. So I called some of my carrier people and said, did they see it? And they were a little perturbed as well. If you don't know what we're talking about, we're about to get into it. So if I miss anybody after I start talking, I apologize because I can't read really without my glasses on. And I only got my dark glasses here. All right, so let me school. Lynette, how you doing? Amanda, how you doing? Sean, what's going on? I wish I knew how to pronounce that. Demonipusuchushuvu. All right, you know who that is. Keena Abraham Wallace. You put your whole name out there. All right. Military Mike, how you doing? Louisiana. Louisiana. Home of the hurricanes. There it is. Oh boy. See what we got here. Listen. I'm gonna have Mike Cariff on today, and some people say I kind of go soft on Mike. I was trolling him in one of my videos, and two of my videos, and that's kind of what I do. I troll people because, that's the clicks. It gets me clicks. But after seeing what Mr. Renfro was talking about, and knowing that the carriers are about to come upon another contract underneath Brian Renfro, it is a little troubling to know that there is no fight left. Where are they losing this battle when it comes down to getting money? So, um, a whole lot of carriers see it. Number one, I personally believe, and I spoke about it the other day, that the hiring standards have dropped. And behind the scenes, I sent a couple people some things, and that's not gossip. It's not speculation. It is reality. We are pulling people in that are not ready to be carriers. They're not built to be carriers, and they should not have made it past the first screening. And when you do that over and over and over, your whole entire workforce begins to weaken, my opinion. Consistency collapses, and the good carriers, the ones who actually take pride in your work, they're stuck dragging the dead weight of the people who don't even want to be here. Now, before I continue and go into my rant, I want everybody to know before somebody goes and say, hey, you talking about? Listen, these are my opinions and my opinions only. And when Mr. Cariff comes on, I'm sure those are his opinions and his opinions only. We're having a discussion. We do not speak on behalf of the Postal Service. We just talking about real that goes on at the Postal Service. For everybody that gets in their feelings, get over it. I've already had multiple discussions with multiple OIG agents. So I know what I can and I can't say. So get your panties out of a bunch. All right. So let's continue. So management will turn around and use what I just spoke about as ammunition and say, this is why y'all can't get raises. Look at the output. It is a setup. It's the same routine every single time. I had the lady that makes my beautiful hats over here the other day, and she was telling me about a lot of the carriers down in such and such. And she was saying some of the carriers will sit there under their 90 days and talk about, hey, I'm not going back out. They had one carrier turn and put their hand on the face of a supervisor, just mushed them boop, because they were written up. It is wild how some of these people are acting. And then you got Mr. Renfro on a podcast telling everybody off rip, at least it was transparency, to not expect much in your next round of negotiations because, and I quote, the money has dried up. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe the Postal Service is in the red. Give him the benefit of the doubt. But what is interesting to Jay is somehow year after year, the supervisors, y'all need to check this out. They still manage to get their 5%, their 8%, their 10% raises. Whether they're on a different pay structure or not, they are still getting increases while the crafts, don't even talk about my craft, the people who touch the mail, which are the carriers, keep getting told you should be happy with what you already have. That is not balance. That is not fairness. And me, I'm not a carrier, but I still can't get over that. I hear nonstop from people. If they paid better, this is in the comments, they'd get better people. I get that logic, but let's be real. A lot of the people that are screaming that are the same ones who walk in the door expecting the day one privileges, the day one status, the day one comfort, the stuff that the people that worked hard for it, worked years for it. And that's what they want. They want that entitlement. And money does not fix entitlement. Pay does not convert convert laziness into discipline. And pay does not magically turn someone into a postal professional. Standards do that. Culture does that. Expectation does that. You must raise the bar first, then you talk raises. Y'all see the shirt? Change the culture. I'm not a carrier, but I train them. I talk to them. You know, my whole family's part of them. And I see the skill gaps with my own eyes. And I'm not here to clean up your image or pad your campaign, Mr. Cariff. My audience knows better, but I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be asking you some real questions because the carriers deserve real answers. I hear other podcasts talking to their potential presidents. So now, please don't be offended, but Jay gonna give it to you. Mr. Cariff, how are you, sir?
Good evening.
You ready for the drama, sir?
I took some notes. I'm ready.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you are. So we're going to just get right into it. What is your plan to force the postal leadership to raise hiring standards back up so we stop dragging in unqualified people just to fill a seat and then blame the good carriers for the fallout? Because y'all got some great carriers, but when you bring a bunch of trash in, and I apologize for anybody that may feel like it applies to them, but if the shoe fits, wear it. But they blame the carriers for the fallout when somebody is burnt out and they cannot continue moving because of the soft carriers they got in there. The ones that say, you know, I can't be in the truck for longer than 30 minutes without taking a break. That's foolishness. Number two, when the Postal Service pads your numbers with people that cannot perform what a carrier does, how do you plan to stop management from turning that around and using it as ammunition against the union when it is time to negotiate for wages or fight for improvements? Because that's what they base y'all wages off of. The production. That's where all those numbers come from. And if I'm wrong, correct me. And if this downward slide keeps going. The standards keep dropping. The performance keeps sinking. Please tell me, what do you think your concrete day one strategy is to protect the career carriers from the bullshit wage stagnation that they currently see? Job dilution, meaning you got great people and then you got trash. They said if you got one bad apple, it ruins the whole bunch. And the slow collapse of professionalism inside your craft. You see it. They're out there. I wish I could stand up. They're shaking that ass for money, right? They're private dancers dancing for money. It's a clown show. Talk to me, Mr. Cariff. Tell me something, brother.
So it's ironic you bring up the whole professionalism thing, and if you listen to I do that show once a week, Mic Drop Mondays, and the last episode, they were asking me, how did it go out there delivering mail, and I was kind of recapping some things, going over stuff, and that just kept coming into the conversation, the lack of professionalism in the job, and I don't obviously I represent carriers, so I don't blame the carrier, right? But the system, it just doesn't work. It produces this unprofessional result. So start with the 473 battery test, right? When you and I came in, and even after they started hiring CCAs, I don't know about in the other crafts, but even when they started hiring CCAs in 2013, they still, because they were going to become career employees, they told us this is a legal requirement. And for the past few months, I've been researching and trying to find where is that legal requirement, because the people coming in are not taking, they're taking some type of bull assessment test that it don't assess anything. The 473 battery test was a very good test. It tested your ability to organize stuff, basic math skills. Could you follow basic instructions? Could your brain organize things, same, different, memorization techniques? I mean, these are things that you utilize as a letter carrier, and I'm sure as, with other crafts within the Postal Service, but it gave you a good idea of who you had coming in the door. And then you got an extra 5 or 10 points based on your military service, which I always thought was pretty cool, But now that they're not doing the test, and they're basically just like begging people to come in, and they're throwing what I see as they're throwing bodies at the routes instead of trying to hire professional letter carriers who are going to be out there in the community, serving the community, providing that service to the community, being that that beacon of professionalism. I mean, the letter carrier was always the one that was out there, is like didn't make any mistakes. If there's anything went down, you could trust the letter carrier, and that having that in every community, I think, is just very, very valuable to the American people. So to answer your question, I think that we need a change in the law, if not a change in the policy, to require the post office to institute that 473 battery test. Now, of course, if you're going to institute the 473 battery test or any type of requirements for the job's got to be worth attaining. It's got to be a job that people are going to want to have and apply for, and that kind of thing. And so, this whole non-career thing, I've been saying this for, a couple of years now. The non-career classification, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a tractor trailer operator, right? By craft. There's no
Yes.
non-career tractor trailer operators.
I came
correct?
in as one. I came in as a
But
PSE.
but but what about today? Do they
Oh,
hire a tractor trailer operator
no,
non-career? Yeah, I didn't
no,
think so. Is there any non-career mechanics in the
no.
post office? I don't think there should be a non-career letter carrier. I think the letter carrier is, there's a high level of responsibility. You're the face of the Postal Service out there in the community. You wear the uniform. You have all these responsibilities in the M41. You want professionals, hire professionals, hire them a career. And the other thing is, people coming out of the military, there's supposed to be a preference for people coming out of the military. And it's not you generalize, right? People coming out of the military generally make very good letter carriers. They got the discipline, they got the work ethic, they show up to work on time, they're ready to roll, they wear the uniform. And that's just a generality, right? That's not 100% across the board. But the law says that they're supposed to have a preference in hiring. and there's no preference if they don't want the job. That to me, they have diminished this job. They made this job into like an Amazon type thing. We just need a body on Route 14. We don't care what you do with the mail. None of these supervisors care about the service that you provide. When you leave out the door and you come back, it's how long did it take you to get from point A to point B, not what level of service did you provide, in your journey from point A to point B. And I think that's a huge problem, man, with the postal service. I seen our people out there delivering with Amazon bags. You know those big bags you put a bunch of like
Wow.
small parcels in?
Mhm.
Exactly. I thought the same thing. I was like, wow, what is this world coming to? To me, Amazon is an inferior delivery service. They don't have access inside the buildings. They don't know the people out there as far as where they should leave the packages at. They don't ring people's doorbells. They just like slinging shit around. And for us to be kind of mimicking things that Amazon is doing instead of it going the other way is we should be setting the standard for delivery out there. So I don't know if that was the whole answer, but I don't agree about the wages. I think that the wages are set through contract negotiations. If when I say I don't agree that the Postal Service has any right to tell us the reason why we can't pay you the right wage or a living wage or a good wage or whatever is because of something you're doing. But the hell with that. The Postal Service makes all the rules. They control everything. So if the carriers are not doing A, B, and C, that's because the Postal Service is either wants us to do those type of things, or they're allowing those type of things, or whatever. I don't take responsibility or ownership for that. Now, as an individual letter carrier, of course, as an individual letter carrier, you have to look yourself in the mirror every day. And old school, the post offices would have this long mirror, and before you walked out the door, you had to look in that mirror and say, "Hey, is this the how you want to present yourself and the United States Postal Service to the public?" And so you would do that, and they've gotten away from that in a lot of the post offices. And so I say, people respond to, like, you look at a lot of the new carriers that don't have the same, let's say, dedication to service and to the customers. Well, where's that come from? It's because from day one you're taught all we care is how fast you can go. We don't care how well you do your job, and that's what you're going to be judged on. I've seen so many carriers harassed or brought in for a interview, a PDI or whatever. It's never about the service they're providing. It's always about how long did it take you, why were you sitting there for 2 minutes, just all this other stuff. If I went out there tomorrow and misdelivered half my mail, nobody would blink an eye. They wouldn't care. The management of the postal service is not focused on service, and so to me, that's on them. That's not on us. So when we go negotiate a contract, we're gonna fight for the contract that we deserve. And the law says that we get a contract, pay and benefits comparable to those in the private sector, the economy of the United States, and we don't have that right now, at least not in the letter carrier craft.
So, Mr. What's his name? The new PMG,
Steiner.
um, Steiner. He said specifically, and I'm sure you read a lot of his things that he put out, that he wanted things to be more service based. He wanted to bring back the service because he wanted the business. Because if we provide a better service, they will want to bring their business here. Now, here's the thing. If you say that management doesn't care about the service, how is it that we're going to be able to, how is it that you plan when you're talking to them? Say, look, we understand that, things are based off of time, but whatever happened to the service so that these carriers don't feel like they're harassed every day? I refuse to really go back to my craft because I don't want to be harassed because I forgot to put a chalk underneath my wheel. The management has gotten out of control, and I'm gonna widen this up a little bit, just to put something else on your radar. And I saw it in somebody else's union message. I don't know if I sent it to you, but it applies to you guys too. A lot of management is abusing the carriers. You know that. And not because the carriers are doing something wrong, but because a lot of the supervisors do not know the job. They don't know the routes that you guys go on. And they don't understand your workload. They don't understand the pressure that you deal with. So instead of learning the craft correctly, they lean on that micromanagement with all the scanners and all the stuff you were talking about in your shorts. The cameras, the scanners, the time clocks, every tool they can use to weaponize, they use that to weaponize against the carriers. And the dangerous part is that a lot of them are saying that they are following the contract now. The only people getting squeezed by that contract seems to be the carriers. And the supervisors are not being held to the contract the same way. They're using the contract as like, hey, we got you, not a standard. So my next question is, what protections would you put in place? You plan to put in place for actual good carriers, who are getting targeted by inexperienced, fucking experienced. What's the word? The ones that want to retaliate against good carriers and have no idea how the craft works, but they think that they can discipline the people who actually do the job. Me personally, I know somebody that works in my hallway. She has a son that lives in that works at a station. There's a new supervisor, not even 3 weeks, that was a carrier for less than 2 years. And the first thing he says on a Sunday is, you guys need to be back by 5 p.m. And hey, I need you to go help such and such by this time. And if you're not back, you're going to get written up. That's not how people are supposed to supervise. That tactic that these, ooh, watch your mouth, Jay. That tactic that these people are using, that intimidation, that's bullshit. They need a whole revamping. I understand they get their orders from top, but that is not how you talk to a human being. And that's one of the reasons I cannot go back to craft doing what I do, because I cannot have people talking to me like I'm a child. I got somebody that's my son's age trying to talk to me like I ain't got no sense. I just ain't got it in me. Because if management wanted to follow the contract word for word, and they are, and if they do that, then we need to make sure that the supervisors follow it just as strict. There can't be any double standards. They cannot have selective enforcement, no gotcha games, because I have a table 2 carrier I'm about to bring on in a second that's going through some shit. And to whoever is going to be watching, there's nothing that you guys can do to him. Just know that. Carriers should not be walking around scared about over somebody who cannot deliver these times the way that these carriers have to deal with shit. There's people dying on the streets. It's not acceptable. And the passion that I got is because my family does it. Every day I got to wonder if my daughter's going to get home all right. So please, Mr. Cariff, talk to me.
Let me say this, man. The traditional job, what we call a board supervisor, customer service supervisor, we used to call them the carrier foreman in the post office, whatever. That job needs to be automated. Let's be honest. Everything, there's a count on all the mail that comes in. Everyone knows everything that's out there, right? What we are craft employees. We're governed by the handbook M41. It tells you exactly what your duties are, how to carry out your duties, etc. We're a craft in the same way that a plumber is a craft, electrician, or whatever, right? The role of that carrier foreman, that board supervisor, is it can only be harassment because there is no street standard. So the time that it took can't and shouldn't even really be a product of a conversation, because there is literally no standard for how long it's supposed to take you on the street. The only standard is that you perform your duties diligently per the M41 handbook. And so to me, I would get rid of every single one of them. You have them as a support system. You need supervisors to organize like the shipments coming in, approve your leave, you know, do supervisor functions, we understand that. But that part where they oversee the letter carriers in the office,
Micromanaging.
and there's like twice to three times the number of them as there used to be. The numbers, the ranks are growing. The ranks are growing as their value diminishes, right? Like as the you know, everything gets automated, and as the numbers come, like the board supervisor used to measure the mail and do some things like that, right? They don't do anything. Everything's counted already. They know exactly what it is. Me as a carrier, when I walk in the door, I know how many pieces of DPS mail I have. I know how many parcels I have. I know what the weather is going to be that day. I know what the conditions on my route are. We know all of that. What is the role really of the board supervisor? So if I'm talking to Postmaster General Steiner, I'm saying, look, we got to get back to a service-oriented model, and not a model where you're browbeating the employees, trying to rush them and intimidate them and harass them all the time. And these carriers need a raise, especially at the bottom. So there's a win-win here. Let's get rid of these supervisor positions and take that money that you're paying right now, that you're completely wasting right now, and let's put it into the carrier craft, who is the face of the organization, who is the people out there on the street representing the United States Postal Service.
Understood. Now, I understand your earbud went dead. I don't know
Which
if you can
one?
hear me.
I can hear you. Well, you
Okay,
can't
there
hear
you
me?
go.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm watching one screen and it's delayed. All right, but with all of that, with the supervisors and all of that, you'd actually have to have a sit down with Mr. Steiner. I don't know what the role of a president of a national does. If you were the national president, do you have access directly to Mr. Steiner? That's a yes or no, if you were able to.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
great.
Yes, you do.
All right. Another thing, I saw the messaging from the other union, my union, basically telling the people, stop breaking the rules, their own people, us. Stop tearing down our own union, get educated, step up, know what we're talking about, because sometimes we talk shit we don't even know. My guy told me that, G. And whether I agree with it or not, the core message is real. If we're going to demand accountability from the postal service, from the supervisors, etc., we need accountability inside of each of our crafts, inside of APWU as well as NALC as well. Because the shit that I heard about with this SNDC, man, and the stuff that the carriers do, there was a carrier. I'm gonna tell you, I can't tell you where. Carrier is caught on camera in a building peeing in the elevator. This guy is caught on camera peeing in the elevator. Look right at the screen, and your job as a shop steward is to get him out of the write up when they're dead wrong. You can't expect management to follow the contract if half of the workforce doesn't follow the damn contract either. You know, a lot of the people like, damn, Jay, you just went on us. No, is what it is. And I know from talking to Jonathan Smith that as a president of the whole national, each union, from what he told me, they're their own independent entity. So you really don't have control over how each uh union hall runs. Is that correct?
You mean like each local branch?
Yes.
That's somewhat correct. I don't know how the APW Constitution reads, but the NELC Constitution reads specifically that each branch is a subordinate branch of the NALC. So a subordinate branch of the National Union, in a sense, subordinate because the National Union sets the standard for each branch's constitution. Like the example I always give is that the NELC Constitution will say each branch must have a meeting, at least 10 meetings per year, and they must tell the members where the meeting is going to be. And so that branch's bylaws will then say, We're going to have our meetings on the second Tuesday of every month. The meeting will commence at 7 p.m. and the location will be the American Legion Hall at blah 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 address in this city. And so, as long as the branch is adhering to those standards that are set by the National Union, then that branch is its own entity. They don't have carte blanche because they're their own entity in so much as they're following the national institution framework that is set into place. You have to follow the laws and all of that other stuff. But there's a way, if that's not happening, for the national union to intervene. And also, contractually, the National Association of Letter Carriers negotiates a contract with the United States Postal Service. So we have the obligation as a union to enforce those terms. And normally, those terms are enforced through the local branches, meaning the local branches are the ones that are going to file grievances and initiate disputes and those kind of things. But if that local union is not doing their job, absolutely the national union has to step in. In those two scenarios, if they're not following the Constitution or if they're not enforcing the terms of the contract, the national union would step in. But outside of that, those branches are independent, separate entities. That's correct.
Okay. I got a comment that I squeezed my eye at. D's vintage. Nobody can survive in New York City off a table 2 salary. Well, D, we have
Or
somebody coming
Boston.
in. We have somebody coming in to talk about that. But JH is blaming the carriers. Let me be clear. I call out bullshit when bullshit happens. I'm not here on anybody's side. Period. If you fuck up, I'm going to tell you fucked up. My son fucks up, I tell him he fucked up. When they're carriers that are fucking up, I'm going to say, hey, man, you fucked up. That's what I do. I'm not here to please anybody. I'm here to call the bullshit down the middle. I'm not sitting here coddling anybody. You can go to another channel for that. They'll coddle right to you. I don't play the bullshit. I fight for you when you're right, but I'm going to tell you when you're wrong. If you don't like that, go drink a baby bottle. Nonetheless, what I said was very clear, is that if you get caught pissing in the corner of a fucking elevator, you can't sit there and say it wasn't me. That's a Shaggy song. Deal with the fucking repercussions. I got written up one time in my whole career, and I went to them and said, hey, I screwed up. Deal with me. And that's how I deal with my shit. But I'm not going to sit here and say, no, it wasn't me. I don't know why. No, that's called accountability. It's a standard. You pissing in somebody's bathroom, that's an issue. We have a standard. We have some type of something inside of us that says, I'm wearing this uniform. Bring it back up. Bring it back to where it used to be. Because what it used to be and what we used to get paid is because of how we provided a service. They didn't go pissing in elevators. That's not what it is. We can't expect professionalism if we're hiring bottom of the barrel people either. A lot of the new hires that come in are not ready, not reliable, and they're not invested. And we could keep talking about the pay, and they drag the whole craft down. But I got a table 2 carrier that's damn near going broke right now because he was on his channel. He was talking about table 2 stuff, and they tried to silence him. And it bothered me a lot. They told him to shut his channel down. They tried to silence the man because he was speaking his opinion about how he felt. Now, I don't know when this country or this company turned into a dictatorship, because that's not how it works. But Mr. D, Mailman Derek, are you there, sir? Or did you leave me?
Yo, carriers, I'm here. What do you say? It's good to be back.
How you doing, D?
I'm doing good.
So
As you know,
are
I am a
on.
table 2 carrier. Everyone knows it's a struggle, I look at the inflation numbers. I look at the insurance going up. We get a 1.5 contract raise. We're drowning, and my major question is, how do we fix that? How do we fix it?
So you had some situations. Just tell it what it is. Say who you like. Say what it is you were saying behind the scenes about wanting to vote and why.
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
The
Vote
vote.
what?
Who you plan to vote for?
Oh, yeah, like I have like so Corey Walton, I think Corey Walton is a bulldog. Like Corey Walton, I want in my corner. I think if that guy's in the room, he's not walking out with, the best offer. The contract we just got, it had to have been the first offer. It had to have been. Like, no questions. And then Mr. Renfro comes out and says, don't expect much this time around either, because the post office doesn't have money. How does he know what the post office has? You know who doesn't have money? The letter carrier. We don't have money. So that I want him in my corner. So what are you gonna do about it? What's your counter then?
Is that for me?
Mike. Yeah, Mike.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I do agree with Corey Walton on one thing that's very important, and that is when we get into contract negotiations, we don't give a shit about anything except for how is this contract going to affect the letter carriers. Well, I shouldn't say the only thing because that's number one. Two is how does the postal service grow going forward? And I think that's where we can unify this union. And I think that's the problem with just saying, what about me versus, I don't think we want to have a division in the union between the table one carriers and the table two carriers or whatever, the carriers that have been there a while. What we want to do is go into the contract negotiations and say, look, we need a contract that works for everybody, and we need a postal service that works for the American people so that this thing can grow. Because if the postal service does not grow and does not capture the delivery, if they're not able to deliver the parcels and the small packages and the things that are the modern mechanism for delivery, because we're losing a lot of the other delivery that traditionally we've done, letters and stuff like that. If we lose that delivery and don't replace it with what's being delivered today, the Postal Service has always been the delivery mechanism for America, whether it's letters to your grandma, whether it's bills, whether it's advertising, or whether it's small packages today. We should be that vehicle. And so you have to have a contract that works so that the Postal Service can utilize that contract to grow. And I think have right now is a contract that doesn't work, that does not retain employees, that does not attract the quality of a person that you're looking for. And so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work for the person at the top step. It doesn't work for the person that wants to retire tomorrow. It doesn't work for the person that is already retired, because that money paying their retirement has to come from somewhere, and it comes from the people putting in. So I think that's the first step, is taking that approach, and then the second step is looking at it and saying, how are we going to accomplish our goals? And that's the hard part, and that's where I think I bring something to that. Well, I'll just tell you as an example. Back in 2023, when we started contract negotiations, we got an executive council of 28 people. I'm one of 28. I can tell you guys, I was the only person on the executive council saying, hold up, this whole thing is broken. Let's go into contract negotiations and take a different approach. Let's make sure that we put the Postal Service on alert that these problems need to be fixed. So you got a grievance process that doesn't work. You got a hiring process that doesn't work. You got a uniform process that doesn't work. You got retention of employees that does not work, of letter carriers. You got a non-career classification that doesn't work. You have to go into negotiations from day one very publicly and state to the post office, you are going to work with us over the next 90 days to solve these problems, or we're going to figure out how to solve these problems without you with the help of a neutral arbitration panel. That's the approach that we have to take going into contract negotiations. And, they didn't take that approach. President Renfro and, quite frankly, nobody else on the executive council wanted to take that approach. And I was the one on the outside there, being different or being a rebel or whatever you want to call it. And that's fine. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in whatever chair you want to put me in, But that is where I think we have to, going forward, we have to elect, starting with a president. And let's be honest, man, I know people like different candidates, and when you get your ballot, by all means, you can vote for whoever you want to vote for all the different positions. If you like Corey Walton, by all means, vote for the brother. I'm good with whoever the people want to vote for. But your very most important decision you're going to make is, who do you want to be the president of the union? The president is over collective bargaining. The president runs the internal parts of the union. The president runs the convention. The president runs the executive council. The president deals with Congress. The president is the face of your organization to the Postal Service. The president makes all of the hiring and the selections and the appointments and make sure you get the president that you want. And that's why I'm going out there. I'm making myself available. I'm putting myself out there for any type of questions, for any type of considerations, because I want people to have that opportunity, first and foremost, to see, do I want this man as my next president, or do I want somebody else? Whoever that is, I'm good with that. I'm not mad at the members of the union for making that decision. I want you guys to make the choice of the person that you feel would be the best person to represent us going forward. But I can tell you this: the way we've been doing this thing, the status quo, this is the way we do shit. It has not worked in the last 10 to 15 years. It used to work. Like, we had a good process going, the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. Like, we were a very successful union, but that just is not the case anymore. And this current situation is untenable. And I understand the frustrations. I'm frustrated too that we made zero advancements in the last round of contract negotiations. And then the president has the nerve to say, well, I don't think we're going to do much better this time. And we're like, dude, like, what do you give us some hope, man? Tell us what the plan is. Tell us, here's how we're going to try to
Sabotage.
get there,
It's sabotage. I mean, it's sabotage. But let me make this clear. I don't want it to be a division of Table 1 and Table 2 either.
Right,
I just want
right.
us all to get paid. And like the colas. Like,
And that's
why
what we
aren't we
all got
all
to want.
getting 100% colas?
Right.
FERS, right? Table 1 pays 0.6%. We
Point
pay
eight, but yeah,
4.2. So every step we
4.4.
go up,
You're
we're
close,
paying
man.
more money. More money.
Yep.
Like, it's just like, this is like, these are major problems.
Does the
But
president have the authority to adjust that with the
That is a legislative issue. And so when I talk about you're electing the president is over our legislative program. I think we need to do a better job of our grassroots efforts. Like, why do we allow Congress to change that law and say that anyone hired after 2013 and 2014 is paying 5 times as much into their
right.
into their first retirement? How do we allow that to happen when we're supposed to have the biggest and baddest legislative program out there, when we have 435 liaisons to each congressional district in America? We have over 500 people that live in each congressional district, because we're all over the country. How do we allow that to happen when our friends in Congress pass that bill, and we haven't been able to do nothing about it for 10, 11, 12 years now? We
It's
just been
insane.
sitting there letting it happen. And then you look at the things that you lose contractually are compounded by the fact that, like you said, the table 2 carriers are paying more into their retirement, percentage wise, a lot more. And
Yeah.
quite frankly, when you're starting out, you're going into debt a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to establish yourself as a solid, like, middle class earner. And you don't get to that point until you're 10, 12 years into the job, and by then you've dug yourself into a hole. So now you got to dig out of the hole, and then it's untenable. It's not the professional
Drowning.
career that is supposed to be. It's
We're
it's just not.
drowning. Right? We're drowning. Like, in it's just, I compare it to life insurance. The older you get, the more you pay for life insurance. I feel like the older you get, maybe you should pay more into FERS. It shouldn't be vice versa. It's weird. But, I was a CCA for 2.5 years. That 2.5 years was for absolutely nothing. I couldn't
Yeah.
contribute, no medical insurance, no seniority. And finally, after that, like, I started, but PTFs are being hired now. They're on the pay scale, and then they're getting 3 steps shaved off the front. Like, that is a
So,
lack of common sense. Why isn't it shaved off the back so everyone has to do the same time?
well, you have to solve the starting pay issue. Right now you have clerks, like, we love all our people, and everyone works hard in the organization. I know you're laughing, Jay, but look, I'm not disparaging anybody, but for a letter carrier, if you're injured, you're doing clerk work. Like, it's light duty for us, you know. But and clerks are not the face of the organization. Clerks are not getting stuck up for their arrow keys. There's not the level of danger. You're not on your feet all day normally like we are. The physicality and all that other stuff. But anyway, career clerk level 6 in the APW pay chart starts off making $2.35 more than a city letter carrier
Yes.
career at the first step. That's
Yeah,
insane. That's insane.
it
So,
is.
that has to be fixed,
And
because
we all know it. Yeah.
if you're coming in as a new employee, are you going to want the clerk job, or are you going to want the carrier job, or are you going to want the Amazon job? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
this
Right.
thing has to work, and that's all I'm keep saying. It has to work for everybody. And ironically enough, and I talked to the good people in Boston about this, because there's a push within the union, and there's always been this concept of, why are we not paid different wages based on the geography of where you're at, right?
Right.
Your cost of living is way higher in Boston
Way,
and San
way higher.
Francisco and that kind
Yes.
of thing. So why are you not paid higher? If you work for the federal government, it would be like that. You would make a different amount based on
Oh,
where you live.
I thought that's weird. I thought it worked for the federal government.
I'm saying, the federal government has that standard. They have
Yeah.
different pay.
Right. Right.
They have area
Yeah.
wages, and we
Right.
don't have that. And so, like, every time we have a convention within the union, there's that debate: should we fight for, either through legislation or through a contract with the
Yep.
Postal Service, to have that type of pay structure? And it keeps getting voted down. Now, last time it came up
Why?
in our
Why?
last convention, it
Why?
gets
Yeah.
voted
Why?
down because, well, the theory is a letter carrier is a letter carrier is a letter carrier, and
The
that
fuck out of here.
theory,
It's not though.
well,
It's
I'm going to tell
not.
you guys this. That theory, it worked when you were negotiating. So my thing is this: if our union is going to say, because if I'm the president of the union, I have to follow the will of the members. So if my delegates say a letter carrier is a letter carrier is a letter carrier, I don't want you negotiating area wage. I say, okay, well, I have to then negotiate a wage that's high enough for my brothers and sisters in Boston and San Francisco to live off of. I have to,
Right.
because my union said that everyone needs to make the same. Well, what's the same? The same has to be a living wage. And if that means my people in Mississippi are getting a little bit more, that's
A little
okay.
more. They're living like kings.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
They're living in Mississippi, so that's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that's their choice.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's what that means. And so, if you're the president of the union, you can't negotiate a contract that doesn't work for any segment of your members, be it the CCAs, be it the Table 2 carriers, be it the people that live in Boston, be it the people that are facing a lot of these safety issues, be it the carrier that wants to work 8 hours and go home. Do you know there's carriers out there that don't like overtime, that they don't want the
Oh,
money? They just want to work
definitely.
8 hours and go home. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Yes.
there's a growth. They're not. There's a it's a lessening number because of the economics of the situation, but there's still a lot of carriers out there. So we represent them too, and you have to be able to make the rules so that the carriers that want the overtime get the overtime, and the carriers that don't want the overtime, they're able to go home. And if you still have more work to be done, you need to hire some more damn people. Not
Right.
keep forcing the people that don't want to work. That work upon them. So, that's the old, when you go into contract negotiations, that's the perspective and the approach that you have to take into that thing. It
And
has to work.
the
Can
other
I jump
problem
in for a
is
second?
the
Jump
other.
in for a second.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I'm learning as well. It's kind of my thing. I learn. So if you got an area What you're saying is, if you got the area of the Northeast and those members, 1,000 of them, 2,000, 4,000 of them, say, hey, we'd like for the next round of negotiations for our president to negotiate um, uh, differentials or what do you call it? Area
What is it,
wage,
25%? Like a
whatever it
region? Is
is,
it a
right?
regional cola or
Because
something? Is
They'll
that what it's
call it
called?
a territorial cola or an area
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
wage
because
or
I
something
know in
like that. Yeah,
Alaska, if I'm not mistaken,
right.
Alaska has it.
And Hawaii, Alaska and Hawaii have it right now.
Right. So if they say we want this across our area, and then you got the people over in Texas or other areas, Chicago area, and you got a majority of people that says, "Hey, President, please go into negotiations for this, for us." Will you have to sit in front of the bargaining table and say, "Hey, our guys want this," or do you have to still bring it to your group that voted it down last time? Or
It has to be the delegates to the NALC convention, which last time it was in Boston, 2024, 2026 will be Los Angeles, 2028 will be Minneapolis. The delegates that are sent by those branches, the official delegates, there's like 7,000 of them. They are the supreme body of the union. They are over the president. So
okay.
the supreme body speaks and the president follows the will of the supreme body.
So if you
So
got
yes, it has
7,000
to
of
come
them
to the
and
convention.
5,000 of them say, this is what we want.
Whatever the majority says, but keep in mind, those people are representing the entire membership of the union because those branches are having elections and they're sending those delegates as their representatives. And so each delegate to the convention represents 20 members of the union, and that those delegates become the supreme body of the union. Their decisions are what bind the union in the decision making process.
and these are the same delegates that kept Brian Renfro in charge in Boston, correct?
That's true. That is correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That is
Okay.
correct.
Wow.
I mean,
So
and there's look, man, there we could have a whole other conversation about the makeup of the delegates. I think that it's fair to say that and Derek, I always say this, man, if you go on the workroom floor, like 3/4, 2/3 to 3/4 of the carriers are table two carrier, started as table two
Yeah.
carriers,
Yeah.
started, whatever that time frame. If you go to a union meeting, it's usually like 50-50. And if you go to the convention, it's like 2/3 the other way, two
Yeah.
thirds table one carriers and retirees versus the 1/3. So it flips on the other side versus what the workroom floor looks like. And so the question a lot of people say, well, do these delegates represent the will of the membership? Well, I don't know. All I know is you
Probably
have these
not.
procedures in place.
Yeah.
Probably not. That's true.
Yeah.
That's a fair statement to say probably not. But
Yeah.
the rules are in place, and so everybody has to get more involved in their local union. They got to make sure that they're sending a good representation of delegates to the conventions, and this is our union, so we have to take ownership. We have to get involved. We have to walk in our power so that we make sure that the convention body is well represented, that represents what the will of the members is.
my opinion, which probably means nothing, I believe that a lot of the delegates, a lot of the people that are sitting above suppress the voice of a lot of the table two and the ones that work hard.
It's possible.
I'm sorry?
No, I said it's possible. It's. I mean, you're not the first person to
Probably
say that or
retired.
think that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because somebody that's sitting home retired, I
Yeah.
respect everything they've done, regardless of. I do not think they can identify with a 2-year in CCA or a 4-year in 2 years CCA and 2 years career. Only problem I see is that they haven't gotten involved enough in the union to change that vote. Problem with that is they don't feel like their voices are heard, which is kind of why I started this whole channel to bring
Yeah.
light to the situation. Because, like I said before, there are a lot of good carriers. There's ones that are suffering in New York. There should not be one carrier, postal carrier, a mailman living in their car. It's nonsensical.
Homeless. Yeah, it's
It's
unbelievable.
nonsensical. It doesn't make sense to me. And when somebody sits at a table in front of David Steiner and says, Jerry James, in district whatever, or blah, blah, blah. He sleeps in his car. He's been working for the post office for 9 years.
That should be powerful.
Why is he sleeping in his car? Is it because he can't budget his money? Or is it because the price of a freaking studio in the Bronx is starting at $2,400 for a box? You know what I mean? And then that's not with food, not with electricity, not kind of nothing. So how can we fix that? Because he comes to work faithfully, but he's an angry man. Then he's being micromanaged by somebody that couldn't carry the satchel.
Right.
You see, there's such a big issue amongst the carriers. There's so many that are in the comments that I can't even read because I can't see. But again, it's an infighting between the table 1, the table 2, as well as the retirees. Which means that if you were to step into the role of president, you got to take all this shit and sit it on your table and figure out how to make Derek happy, how to make a Chooch happy, how to shut Jay up. Mouth don't shut up. But how do you juggle all of that? Because Derek going through some shit right now.
We have a common interest, and I think that's what binds us all together within the union. You want what's best for everybody, and if you have a solution and you're building toward that solution, and you're letting everyone know how they can be involved in that solution, and you're having some success and moving forward, then people want to be involved in that. And I think that's how you unify the union. That's the only way you can unify the union.
Do you think that it's there's a carrier down in Miami, Lino? I don't know if you've heard about him. He pushed somebody in his local, and he was talking about recording in order to cover their ass. There's a video. I think I need to send it to you. And basically, what he's saying is, if there's a situation where something is wrong and it needs to be proven, you can use your recording device in order to prove wrongdoing, or to say, hey, this is not how it is. Because unfortunately, if me and Derek work in the same office, and this is just how it is, me and Derek work in the same office, and the supervisor screams at him or bumps him in the shoulder, hey man, Jay, I need you to write a statement. Nah, man, I can't get involved in it. That's how it is. There's no brotherhood no more. Not like it was back in the day when you go barbecue with your peoples. Everybody's for self, and there's no protection amongst the carriers. The carriers is vexed. Y'all got a bunch of unhappy people. These people were unhappy because Derek made a statement and said carriers were milking the clock. That's a statement.
We don't like that.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah,
But it's
I mean,
facts.
I took accountability. I said something I shouldn't have said, but listen,
That's
I
real
said
shit.
it. I can't
got
take
truck
it back.
drivers that used to do that shit. They go and park behind the
let's move
goddamn
on,
ball.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna tell
anyways,
me, hey Jay, you can't stop recording. I ain't calling no names out. They silenced the man because he gave his
the
opinion.
recording though. What's the law on the recording? I think each state is different. I think Illinois, you got to have both parties have to give consent.
Well,
I thought. I don't know.
I will get the video for you because there's some, I don't have the information in front of me, but I want you to listen to that, because a lot of these carriers are just getting dogged out, man. They're getting dogged out. They're carriers that are snapping because a postal supervisor can really just talk to somebody and their fingers in their face, and
right.
These are grown adults. They're adults. They can't call Mike in the middle of the night, hey man, fucking supervisor, this lady sat there and she fucking spit him. Whatever the nasty shit that these people do, they don't even have standards for the supervisors anymore. You already know that.
Man, dude, they used to at least have to take like a math test, like basic logistics and stuff like that to be a supervisor. You don't have to follow the contract. You don't have to know anything. Like there's no standard to be a supervisor these days. That's crazy to me.
They dogged out.
To me, the organization needs a whole overhaul.
You heard what happened to Nick, mailman Nick, and that is one of the hardest dogs out there.
Yeah,
He getting dogged out just because whatever his personal thing is. The man like to work 120 hours a week, and then one time he can't fulfill those duties, he get people barking at him. That shit ain't fair. You know, people are human. We don't want to go home with that shit on our back.
Yeah,
And
I was trying to help Nick out with that. He's supposed to
not
call me back, I
everybody
think.
has Carif.
Yeah, I know. I
Not
get that.
everybody has a Carif.
I
You got
get
people in New
that.
York that they may not have somebody that they can reach out to. And that's the
Yeah.
struggle. You got people in California they can't reach out to.
Well, that's one thing, man, and I think that and Corey Walton has been one of the people that has really kind of made a lot of noise about this. Is that, and I agree with him on this. I don't agree with his methods because I think he sometimes people down instead of builds people up. But when he makes the statement that everybody should get the same level of representation, every member of the union should have confidence that they're going to receive that representation no matter who they are, no matter where they are, no matter what branch they're in, what city they work in, what post that's real. And I think the national union should guarantee that. You know, guarantee that when like I go to a lot of the new carrier orientations and carrier academies and talk to them and I give them my card and I say the buck stops with me. You got a union steward, you got a branch president, you got all type of people, you got all your brothers and sisters, you got everyone's here to help you out. But if all else fails, you call me because the National Association of Letter Carriers is your representative and we are a fraternal organization. And that means if you got a problem, I got a problem, we all got a problem. And we need to instill that culture within our union. And the national union needs to guarantee that. And the national union needs to not be afraid to get involved if a branch is having problems representing certain members or any members or their processes and procedures need some help or whatever issues they're having there. The national union, we negotiate a national contract and we need to be there to enforce the terms of the national contract, no matter if that local union is strong or weak or knows what they're doing or doesn't know what they're doing or needs help or what. We want all of our local stewards branches to be as strong as possible, but where there's holes, we need to fill those holes. I firmly do believe that.
I think that all of the people that are on, whether it's a YouTube, a Tik, I don't know what the other ones are, all the different platforms that speak about different things when it comes down to the contract from AIDA arbitration, whether it be your platform, whether it be the people out in Tampa. I think everybody has a little bit of input. I think everybody has some good input. Now, here's the thing. Everybody's speaking from their own personal experience and all of their opinions are their own. So the gentleman right there, he had a platform and he was speaking about his own personal experiences while he's home. Is that allowed?
I think it is, as long as you're not representing the United States Postal Service or, like you said, even representing the union. I mean, but all of us represent the union in some way or shape or form. So I don't have a problem with that. But as far as the only legal thing that I know of is you can't represent the Postal Service. You represent yourself as an individual. I think then that's fine.
The views that he is sharing his own. So
Yeah,
they cannot stop him from saying, hey, man, I had a shitty day today, man. Fuck. I had,
I don't think so.
12 pivots and, my pay sucks and this is bothering me. Can they stop him from saying that?
I don't think so. But you know those rules better than me, man.
I sat down with
I,
all of them. Yeah, you're right.
I think if you're bringing this up, you already know the answer.
I
So
do,
I think
but
you're right. I'm not an expert on it, but I think you're right.
so uh, they shut him down, kicked him off the clock for a few weeks, didn't pay the man, and the union failed him. He had
Like a
nobody to
suspension.
call. But listen, all the
it was administrative leave, but I mean, listen,
behind the
it's
scenes, y'all can
whatever.
talk
It's
about
done
that.
and over. Like
Okay.
it,
Okay.
like I said, I took accountability. I said a couple of things I shouldn't have said, but
Fuck,
I
that. You
just,
should have said it. You should have said it. I
I'll
say it.
have,
Jay,
I just
administrative
gotta.
leave is a win, brother. They pay you. You don't have to come to work. Let's leave that
Did you
Nah,
get
alone.
paid?
I didn't know. I got paid for half the time.
Oh, only half administrative leave.
Half the
That,
time.
that's a problem. That's a
Yeah,
suspension.
yeah. So I just got to put a disclaimer out there. But what I wanted to get back around to anyway is, do you know how the negotiating works? Like, why is Brian Renfro even negotiating right now?
Because
Like,
he's the president of the union. The NALC Constitution says that the president oversees the collective bargaining process. The president makes the decisions on collective bargaining,
so
and we
this is the
elected him to be the
earliest
president.
probably this is probably the earliest anyone's ever gotten around to bargaining a contract that's up in March, because
What
it takes two
it,
and a half years without colas or contract raises, and now he wants to get it done, in March. It's like, it's just, is he trying to sabotage us again?
Well, there's a 90-day. He hasn't started the negotiation. So what you're seeing, if you guys are members of the NELC out there, what you're seeing is the union preparing to start contract negotiations with the employer. So we haven't sat down and had not one meeting with the other side. The other side being the Postmaster General, Labor Relations, the United States Postal Service.
I'm
You
gonna
have that
Don't
interrupt
big
let
you.
him.
table.
Good.
I'm gonna
Don't let him.
interrupt you.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
don't
ahead.
I'm
let
gonna
him.
interrupt you because what Renfro said is, don't expect more than you got last time.
That's
That
what he
means
said.
he's telling this man right here,
Yep.
he's telling all them people in the comments,
Because the
don't
post office
expect
has
more.
no money. Because the post office
That's what he's
has no
telling them.
money. Neither do
He's
we.
trying to make
We
sure
don't
that they
have the
lower
money.
their
That is,
expectations.
man, that
That's
is not the
fuckery.
standard. That is not the standard. And is ironically enough, the APWU went twice. And the Postal Reorganization Act of 1970 is the law. The law applies to all the crafts in the United States Postal Service, and it clearly says that pay and benefits will be comparable to those in the private sector of the economy of the United States. It says nothing about the finances of the agency,
Right.
because
Right.
back then it was taxpayer funded. So it was, the United States Treasury was unlimited. It had trillions of dollars or whatever. So it's the law is not that's not what negotiations are based on. And there's two arbitration awards when the post office tried that, where they were shot down by arbitrator Goldberg, and I think it might have been Goldberg twice, but it was two times. And the arbitrator said, "Look, the statute says what the statute says." And these people went out on strike to get that law enacted. And they got that law enacted that said we're going to receive pay and benefits comparable to private sector. And the leader of the union has the nerve to say we can't get that, not because we don't deserve it, but because the conditions aren't right. Which, man, how do you say that when you were the one negotiating the contract in 2023, when the conditions were way better? When UPS and the
I know.
UAW and the longshoremen and everyone under the sun was getting these big raises, and you didn't do
Everyone.
anything. You didn't take our case to arbitration. You weren't able to make any significant advances, and now you're still in charge of the union because it's a
Right.
4-year term,
And,
unfortunately. And
and
and and then you want to tell us to, hey, temper your expectations. No,
yeah.
figure out how to get us a better contract.
And he said it
Let's work on that.
after we voted it down. He said it after we voted it down on a podcast too. Don't expect any more. And now he is saying it again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want someone to go in
Honestly,
there and just not accept the first offer. That's all. I mean, I want someone to just draw a line in the sand. This is what we're
and,
going for.
and tell us what it is. I mean,
Right.
what is all this
Keep us
secrecy?
informed. Keep us
I think
informed.
I think that the Postal Service should be embarrassed to say this is all we can offer to the nation's letter carriers, and I think we should shame them for giving us some lowball bullshit. They need to come with an offer that represents not only pay and benefits comparable to those in the private sector, but a pay and benefit package that represents a professional letter carrier. Because if you're running the postal service, don't you want professional letter carriers as well? Isn't that your goal and your mission to serve the American people? So, like I said, we got to shine a light on this thing. I know a lot of people are talking about having rallies and marches and, doing those kind of things. I think that can only help us. I think the more light we shine, the more transparent we are, the more we talk about it. It gives us some hope. And then, we have an election next year, and we got to get a new president. That's a fact. That is a
What
fact.
about the right to strike? Do you ever talk about that? Is that a sore subject?
It's not a sore subject to me because we went out on strike in 1970, and that's what set the stage for what we have right now. I don't
Right.
think that a strike would be as successful, or maybe not even successful at all, the way things are going right now. We don't have the same value in the eye of the public that we had in 1970. To me, that's something that you got to build up to.
But it's not
Like
about that, is it? It's not, isn't it about the post office would be way behind if we didn't come to work? Like, isn't even not about the public? Like, what are they
well,
gonna do? How is the mail gonna get delivered? How are the parcels gonna get delivered if we don't go to work?
Well, the problem is that you have someone in charge says, "Well, won't get delivered," and everyone shrugs. I mean, that's the worst possible outcome for us, is that we stop coming to work and nobody cares. I mean, I don't think that would be the outcome. But let
I
me
just
just say
don't.
this: look,
I can't see that happening when they
people
care
talk
about one
about having,
package not being scanned. You know what I mean?
yeah. Look, people
Mm.
talk about the right to go out on strike, and the last when we went on strike in 1970, we didn't have a right to go on strike either. It was illegal. So
Right,
I'm not
right,
so enamored with the right. But you want to
right,
talk about going out on strike? Let's start. Here's my idea. The first day of contract negotiation is going to be February 25th of
right,
2026.
right.
On that day, every single letter carrier. Now, you say you guys are ready to go out on strike and do something. Let's do this
Walk out.
before work. No, no, not walk out.
Yeah,
Before work, before work, stand in front of your post office
yeah.
and pass out flyers to the public to shine light on the fact that we're entering into contract negotiations,
Gotcha,
that our wages
gotcha.
aren't high enough, that the working
Yeah,
conditions suck, that the supervisors harassing us. Let's talk to the American people about what's going on. But let's do this in every single post office in America.
right, right.
Let's not wait for somebody else to do it. We say we're big and bad and we want to have the right to go on a strike. Let's show that. Let's prove that. Let's show that we have the ability to affect change and do something different, and not just watch this train go by and complain about the results that we're not getting shit, which that's very frustrating, but we got to do something about that.
But what about fight like hell? What about fight like hell? Fight like hell.
Oh shit.
How do
Mm.
you have a mantra that says fight like hell and you don't even take the case to arbitration? I mean, arbitration is not like this big fight, but it's a legal fight, right? Like, you present your
Yeah,
case, you pound the table, you bring in your witnesses, you didn't even do that. I mean, the most basic thing of fighting. I mean, hell, I've fought harder for someone's job than this guy fought for our whole contract. That thing was crazy, where he just mediated the whole settlement and said, "Okay, we're done. We'll take that." That that
yeah.
that
It was
was.
disgusting. It was gross. The whole
And
thing
you
was
talk about
gross.
people getting involved in the union. When people see their union, kind of doing that and treating them like that, and being okay with those results, it doesn't really, give people don't want to get involved with that. So that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
think some of the issues we're having internal to the union will be solved just by the union taking a more proactive approach, by letting people know what the agenda is, be involved, and having some success. Moving this thing forward. Stop taking these L's. I think that would get
yeah.
people more involved in the union.
So
Gotcha.
let me ask you something. I can see a very small comment. Don't duck it. Don't duck it. What would you do different?
You talking about
What?
contract negotiations, or talking about what?
Yeah. What would you do
Contract
different?
negotiations, like, I would start with a march from NALC headquarters to LaFlante Plaza. I'm bringing a few thousand letter carriers with me when I start contract negotiations. Everything is going to be public. Everything is going to be on the record. I'm going to go to the Board of Governors and the Postmaster General, and I'm going to let them know this is not working. We need to work together. We got 90 days under the law. 90 days. We're going to utilize every single one of those days. I would be updating the membership every single day on what was talked about that day. Did we make any progress on the uniforms, on the grievance procedure, on mandatory overtime, on the starting pay? We make any progress? I'm giving you an update every single day because I want to hold the Postal Service accountable. And when they don't do their job during those 90 days, because they're the post office that we know they are, then I'm going to be prepared to take that case in front of a neutral arbitrator. And part of our case is not just going to be, this is what we deserve, this is what the law requires, this is paying benefits comparable, but we're doing this on our own because the Postal Service is not a willing partner. They're not trying. They're not upholding their end of the bargain. And so I think that makes for a much more compelling case when you go in front of that neutral arbitration panel. That would be my plan.
How do you protect your letter carriers from abusive management while also, this is a hard one. I don't think there's an answer to it, but I'm that guy. Protecting your letter carriers, which they need to be, from abusive management while also raising internal standards. So we're not just handing management excuses to
Right.
use against the carriers. You got 13 great carriers at a station. You just said a little while ago, Corey said to protect everyone, but you got 5 shit bags. Those 13 that are hardworking, they get the shit end of the stick all the time. You know that. I know that. How do you hold those 5 that are ruining the rest of your station accountable? Those carriers are tired. They sick of the shit. And anybody in the comment that's like, no, I'm not tired. They wanted the shit bag carriers. Those are the ones that are the problems. But a majority of them that work hard, they're tired of being treated like trash. How do you hold the other guys accountable? You got to defend them, but
And I think that is difficult. It has to come, there has to be a standard, right? Like a standard of service, standard of employment. And I look at some of the other crafts because I think of the letter carrier as a craft. And you see like accreditation, you see like you know, you get your initial training, right, in your field, but that's not the end of it. You have to get recertified. You have to get, you know, so I think the answer is, and you know, you would need, you need to brainstorm, you need to kind of bring everyone together, come up with different ideas. But I think the answer in the end is to have our craft, you know, there be a standard in our craft that you have to comply with in order to be in our craft. And if you can't meet that standard, whatever that is, then you can't be in the craft. And so I think that us kind of policing ourselves and making sure, like if you hire a union carpenter, like you're going to build a project or whatever, you hire a union carpenter, the union certifies that person that they're going to be able to do that job. You know what I mean? I think
right.
there's got to be a way for us to be able to certify to the American public and to the Postal Service, this is a qualified letter carrier, you know, because there's a standard within there. And I don't know exactly what that formulation would be or how that would work or, you know, whatever, but I just really believe we need to take management out of it. I think they're the problem. Once you get management out of it, then we're having a discussion amongst ourselves, like how are we going to do this, right? How are we going to do this in a way that makes sense and works for everybody?
Well,
But
the
I'm not going to
situation,
say I have the answer on that, but that's a little idea I have.
so the situation is bigger than your hiring process. It's bigger than your wages. It's bigger than the next contract. It's whether or not, like you continue to say, you guys are the
It's
face.
the culture.
It's whether or not the craft is being built to thrive, or are they? Somebody said it's done by. I forgot what they said. They used the word it's like the system is being done this way. It's like y'all are slowly being hollowed out from the inside. It's like they're just injecting trash into the great carriers from the inside. And it's like they're bro, you've seen some of these videos. There's people
We're
dancing
going
on.
from being professional letter carriers to being a body. That's what I see.
So how do
That's what
you
I see.
rebuild the culture? How do you restore the pride in your uniform? How do you protect the carriers that carry the weight? How do you keep your union strong enough to push back when the numbers on paper don't even look pretty?
Yeah,
Because
it's not going to be easy, man. All of that, we've dug ourselves in a nice little hole here, and it ain't going to be easy. But you know, you start with that first step, right, and then you go to the second step, and that kind of thing. I think I think that we're still strong as a union in the sense that we're still a very strong fraternity. I think people do feel, you want what's best for your brothers and your sisters and the people that you work with, and there's still that strength there. There's still a lot of solidarity. I know people, talk down about, oh, these carriers don't want to support each other, but I see the opposite too. I see a lot of carriers really helping each other out. I see a lot of times, so I want to build off of that. And like I say, one step at a time, brother. I don't have all the answers. My style of leadership is very collaborative. I tell you what I know and what I don't know and where we're at, and then I want to hear from you. And then we kind of work together and we collaborate and we move forward. But we're going to need everybody. We're going to need everybody to help out with this, and we're going to need to think outside the box, and we're going to need to figure it all out together. And it's not going to be easy at all. But where we're at right now, man, is untenable. We just cannot keep banging our head up against the door and not making any progress. And I do believe that if you had a better contract that was actually enforceable, like a real grievance procedure that worked and a contract worked that made sense and all of that, I think that's a good starting point. I really do. I think that's a good starting point to rebuild the culture and focus on the service and make the Postal Service the delivery mechanism for America, which is what it's supposed to be.
So, like, your main priority is not fiscal, it's like service provided. It's service. That's
Absolutely
your
has
main
to be.
priority? Okay,
Absolutely.
so the last contract was basically all concessions. Do you agree?
No,
On
I don't
the
agree with all concessions. I think the last contract, I would describe the last contract as status quo. I don't think it was a lot of concessions. I don't think it just wasn't any games. And to me, we entered into the thing the starting point was untenable. The starting point was this doesn't work. We got to make a change. And the ending point was no change. So that's the way I describe it. I don't think it was
Okay.
concessions, gives back. I just think it was no progress when we needed progress more than anything. And we were set up for progress because we just worked through the pandemic and because all the other unions were making progress. We were at a point where we could have made progress, but we just did not. That's what
All
I
right,
think.
so we've been out of contract, we've been way, I don't know, we've been out of contract in the 2020s way more than in contract, correct? All that
Yeah.
money we're saving with COLAs and contract raises, what do they do with that money when they
Well,
don't have to pay them out?
but Derek, all of our contracts have gone back and made those colas and those general wage increases retroactive.
Yeah, but
There's no period of time where there was not a
but that's
gen
being paid
every.
with interest. That's being paid with
Now
interest
that's
because the
true. They,
principal is
they they
going.
they didn't keep the interest on that. That is a
Yeah, I
fact.
mean the principal is crazy on that money.
Yeah.
220,000 carriers, you're not
No, you're
paying
right.
COLAs for 2.5 years.
It's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, where's that money? Like that's the
They
first
looked at
question
me
I
like I
would
was
ask.
crazy. I said that if the post office is going to hold on to our money, they need to pay us the back pay at the federal interest, the federal judgment rate. And people
Right,
looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, why wouldn't they? They've been
right,
holding on to our money. Like
right,
we didn't
right.
loan it.
So,
We didn't loan it to them. We didn't give them an interest-free loan.
right. And here we are. We're about to go out of contract again. Could be another 2.5 years without COLAs and
Well,
contract
it's not going to
raises.
be. It's not going to be 2.5 years because
How do
we
you
can
know
elect a
that?
new
Like,
president next year. Well,
you sure?
I know if you elect me as a president, it's going to be doing 2.5 years. Look, the law says there's a 90-day negotiating period prior to the expiration of the contract.
Right,
The
right.
contract expires May 22nd, 21st, 22nd of 2026. When that contract
Yeah.
expires, you go to arbitration because the Postal Service had 90 days to act right. And if they
Right.
didn't act right, you go to arbitration.
So
And so,
you would go straight up to arbitration.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm telling the Postal Service that on day one. I'm
Yeah.
telling them, you have 90 days per the law. Let's get to work. Our schedule is going to be what? I'm here every single day.
To
I will
see
be
their
here at 8
books?
a.m. I will be here
To
at
strict
8 a.m. I don't care. I don't care about the books because what I care about is fixing the problems in the contract. I want to
Right.
fix the grievance procedure. I want to fix the uniform procedure. I want to fix the mandatory overtime. I want to fix the low starting pay. Whatever. These are the challenges that we have. Why doesn't the Postal Service want a good contract for their letter carriers? Why are we
I,
the only ones that care about that? You know,
it's
this is collective bargaining. Let's collectively sit down and
right,
figure this thing out.
right.
And we're going to do it every single day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Good.
And if you're
I'm
absent,
glad to hear that.
if you're absent one day, I'm having a press conference.
Oh, you
I
mean you
came here
shouldn't
to
be
meet with the
AWOL?
postmaster general, and they're not here.
Oh, you're
We're
not gonna
doing
be
this
AWOL for
every
three
day.
months? That's good to hear. Yeah.
So you got a table 2 carrier there. Do you think they'll be better off with what you propose once you get in there? They feel left out. They're
Well,
hurting.
the problem is we've dug ourselves in this hole, but what I'm trying to get across to everyone is you got to have a plan and a strategy and a vision for how we're going to solve this thing. It ain't going to happen overnight, but you got to get there. And so to me, the framework is there because the law already says paying benefits comparable to those in the private sector of the economy of the United States. And UPS drivers are very comparable to us, and they're making a shit ton more money than we are. And so, if we can bring our contract more in line with the UPS drivers' contract, I think that the people in Table 2 and all letter carriers will be very happy. And so that's going to take time to get there, but I think that's the direction we got to go in.
Would you commit to fight for that?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say something specific. I'm going to commit to fighting for a starting wage that is higher than what the clerks are making right now, which is like 28 and a half. I think $30 an hour is a very doable, reasonable
Yeah.
starting pay. The starting pay for table 1 is well over $30 already. And so the starting pay should be $30 and going up from there. And if we can, so you take the pay chart right now, it's 12.4 years to get to the top. But if you start at, let's say, 30, and then that means that you don't have as many steps to get where you're going, then you can lower the amount of steps that it
Yeah.
takes to get to the top as well.
Yeah. And
And
I
I
think
think
everyone would like
that's
that.
the solution.
Yeah, that is
That's the
absolutely
solution. The
the
postal service is not going to want to do it, but they got to come up with a solution. If they don't, we're going in front of an arbitrator to fight for one.
Okay.
Oh, I like it. I mean, I like what I just heard.
Did he convince you?
Look, the
I
ballots
mean,
ain't coming out till September of 2026. I'm
yeah,
not in a mode, Jay, and everyone. I'm not in a mode of like a hard sell on anyone. Look, I want you
yeah,
guys to have a chance to get to know me a little bit.
yeah,
We're doing this tour going around the country. We call it Kick the Tires tour. It's like, look, take the opportunity to find out who these candidates are for president, get to know them a little bit, ask them whatever questions you want to ask them, that kind of thing. And then when we go to make our choice next year in September, we'll be prepared to do that.
So curious. I think Derek would be a good shop steward. Would you be willing to give him the steps necessary behind the scenes?
I don't even know what that means, man. The structure. You say he's a good shop steward. I just met the brother, so let's start there. But I'm
yeah.
not
I mean,
saying he's not. He probably would be
I,
great.
here's the thing.
But
I think I'm in a big branch, right? I have a family. I
are you
think
in
there needs to
34
be
or
Zoom meeting. I think there needs to be Zoom meetings for the union meetings. They're hard to get to on a Tuesday night when I have dance and volleyball and baseball and
yeah?
football. You know what I mean? There needs to be Zoom meetings. Like this should be a countrywide, especially in a big branch like Boston. I don't know.
A lot of people feel that way. Um, I think there needs to be an avenue for everyone to be involved with their union. I'm not a a fan of telling people what to do. I think that's something that branch, whatever. I don't. You in branch 34, or I don't know what branch you're
Yeah.
in, but whatever.
Yep.
That's for you guys in branch 34 to figure out what is
Yeah.
that methodology for all the people to get involved. I mean, you could have, for example, I've seen some branches do different rap sessions in different like geographic areas, like around, let's say, around Boston area kind of thing, and maybe that works better. there's some drawbacks to the Zoom platform. There's some great advantages, like you say, but there's some drawbacks as well. So I really think that the local branches, that's how you empower people. You say, hey, this is a problem. You guys gotta figure that out and figure it out in the best way that you guys can. But Jay, just so you know, man, the stewards are picked by the local branches. I mean, the president of the union
Yeah,
don't
they're
pick union
elected.
stewards.
Yeah.
That's you're either elected by the people in your office or you're appointed by the president who's elected by the members. One of the
Right.
two. But either way, the local branches are the one that pick the steward. But I would make sure, as president of the union, that training and the materials and the resources were available to everybody. So anyone
Right.
can get the training and learn how to do it. Now, does your people that you work with or your local branch, do they want you to be the union steward? That's not my call. That's the call of those people. But I'm going to make sure that you have the tools and the resources necessary to do your job if you are selected or elected by the members in your branch.
Well, that's kind of what I meant. You know, show
Yeah.
him the steps in order to
Oh, absolutely.
put himself in a
Dude, and
position.
you can ask anyone in Illinois that's a letter carrier. We train the hell out of our people. There's trainings all the
Yeah.
time. We had a training last night. It was over Zoom. It was available to everybody. On some OWCP issues, whatever. We do constantly doing training on all different kind of things available to all of the members, but particularly the ones that are officers and stewards and things like that.
Right.
All right. I think I drilled you enough. I can't come up with nothing else to mess with you. I
Yeah.
ain't stunt you one bit. Let me see if I can get I can't see, man. This is gonna look silly, but these are my glasses. So I apologize. People are like, why is this guy wearing sunglasses? But now I can read.
There you go.
All right, tax deduction, Jay's the best. Okay, no, they didn't say that. Highest income tax, we have the worst, unproductive president. Oof. How many routes in your station? I literally can't spend money outside of essentials. See, that's a shame. Somebody
It's
said
true.
that.
Sad but true.
This
Man,
used
Go
to
to
be a middle class job. When you look at the table one pay chart, when you got to step D, which is like maybe 4 years in, 3 to 4 years in, you were like you were solidly in the middle class. You were 92% to your top pay within 4 years. And that's just not the case anymore. And we're suffering because of that.
I keep saying Renfro. We're not talking about Renfro right now, Mr. Johnny Marino. I can't. I can't read. Derek, keep you cool. The rest will work out. I don't know who this Chooch guy is. I need some damn boots. About to be Flintstoning it out here. Allowance is ridiculous. You agree? You talked
It's
about it in
terrible.
your video.
Yeah.
They require us
What
to
is that
wear. They
about?
And
require us to wear uniforms. Hand
that's
them
the
out.
crazy thing, man. You with uniforms is like, look, the employer and look, we want to be professional letter carriers in uniform, right? So we get that. But essentially, the United States Postal, we're wearing the United States Postal Service uniform. I'm not wearing like the Mike uniform. I'm wearing your uniform. So you want me to be out there representing your brand in your uniform, but yet you're not you're not either just giving me the uniforms or giving me enough of an allowance for me to purchase
Not
those
even close.
uniforms myself. That's crazy. How can you have a requirement without having the finances or resources to back up what that requirement is? And
Please tell me,
yeah, go ahead.
does UPS make them pay for their uniform the same way we do? I don't
My
know.
under-
This is an honest
my
question.
my understanding, and if I'm wrong, someone send me a message or something, carefmichael@gmail.com. But my understanding is that
He is
UPS
John
drivers
Lawson.
they have the system where they turn in their uniforms. They just get the uniforms. Like they provide them with the uniform. They don't have an allowance or anything like that. They just provide them with the uniform, and then they wear those uniforms and then they turn them back in, or I don't know what kind of system they have, but the company provides the drivers with the uniforms.
The raincoats, all that stuff, the boots, everything.
Anything Gore-Tex. I mean, you're looking at over $300.
I have a friend and her brother. Um, that works for that. I'm gonna find out. See, because it doesn't make sense. It never made sense to me. For every company I've ever worked at, they gave us the
They provide you
uniforms.
uniforms. Exactly. They provide it for you.
And if we
100%.
Yeah.
wanted more, they're like, hey, we gave you enough to last you a week or 2 weeks. And, even when I was a chef, we would, give us a full week's worth. And then we would turn it in and they'd have the company come and wash it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I don't see why they're not doing that, because I think that some of the people look ridiculous going out there without a uniform. And when people don't have boots, so Willie B talking about boots, if he's a carrier, you need your feet. That's
Yep.
not fair for Willie B. He needs something comfortable on his feet. That's the one thing that a carrier, regardless of, they gotta walk.
Well, you can
And if
easily spend it's $536 a year. And if you're walking around all day, you can easily spend that just on your feet alone, without
two pairs of
having
boots, yeah.
having bought anything. You haven't bought any shoes. I mean, no any pants or shirts yet, or rain gear or anything.
They say they
Now the
paying
uniform part
$100
does
for
work.
some cheap ass pants. I know we pay the same thing and we ain't even got a stripe on our pants. What is that? It's ridiculous, man.
You don't get a stripe on your pants?
No, tractor trailer operators, we don't have the stripe on our pants.
That's
Oh,
the
they're
that's
just
the
plain
distinction.
that just heavy heather blue?
Yes.
Wow.
That separates us. That's the only thing. It's the only thing on our pants. We don't have a stripe on the side.
Wow.
Let me see. Gotta call a problem when we call a problem, everyone. Yeah. Cali got a problem. We got a problem, everyone. Cali. Well, yeah, California. I got a buddy. He's not with the post office anymore. Dave. It's West Side Dave. He's been with the post office almost 10 years. Decided that after 10 years, he was gonna go work for Granger. He left the postal service in California to go work for Granger because he could not afford the cost of living. Where they do that at?
Cost of living is, inflation in Boston went up 3.7%, right?
How
Insurance
much
is
was your
going up
raise?
$39. We just got a 1.5% contract raise. We're drowning. We're losing money every year. I don't even get a
Is
full
there something that you
COLA.
can honestly do about that, or no? Is that just a lost cause? I mean, we could sit here
It's
and
a
bitch
lost
about it.
cause. What can
No,
is there any
I'm
help?
asking
Oh, you're
Gareth.
asking
Is
Mike.
there
You're asking
something
Mike.
that can
It's
be done about that?
I'm gonna tell you this. I know this isn't popular, but it's not as bad as we think it is. So if you take every year, we're getting two cost of living raises and one general wage increase, at least in the last few years, in the last couple contracts. And so if you add up those percentages, it really is between 3 and 4% raise. It looks like a 1.3 because that's what the
No,
general
it's
wage
not.
increase. It is.
It's
It's between 3 and four
oh
percent.
three. Oh, but three. Like, all right. So one
So
point
you
four
said,
I'm
percent.
talking
so
about the
for example,
uniforms. I'm talking about the
All right.
uniforms. Is there
Yeah.
the
something you can do about the
uniforms,
uniforms?
you can
I
definitely
got you.
do something about.
I got you
That's the
between the
question.
colas. Okay, I
Yeah,
Yeah,
got
the
you.
I'm
question
asking
is,
about the
can you do something
uniforms.
about the uniforms?
Yes.
Oh yeah, you can do something about the uniform. So in the 2019 contract, they had language that said they were going to have a task force to study the problem and come up with a solution or whatever. And then nothing came of that. And so because the post office didn't put any effort into it, and then you get into the new contract round, which started in 2023, and they got to the end in 2025, and they just decided to roll over the exact same language into the new contract about a task force without actually solving the problem. But what you do is you tell the Postal Service, if you want us to be in uniform, you got to solve the problem. We're not paying for the uniforms. So you either tell us what the program is going to be that's going to be cheaper so that you can save money and we can have uniforms, or we're just not going to have uniforms. That's how you start that thing. And if you got to go in front of an arbitrator on that, you got to go in front of an arbitrator. It's completely unreasonable that the employer has a requirement on uniforms and they're not financing the cost of their requirement. Completely unreasonable. I don't think any arbitrator in the world would agree with that. Would allow for that type of system to go forward.
Will asked, why is that 1.3% based on the lowest step? Is that how
It's
it's based?
No, it's not based on the lowest step. What it's based on is your salary or your steps salary at the start of the contract, it doesn't compound the way that's the way they've always done it, but it's it's to the good of the postal service when they negotiate it that way. But so for example, we just got a 1.5% increase. We didn't get a 1.5% on our current wage. We got a 1.5% increase on the wage when the contract started back in 2023. Then they added the 1.5% on top of that. It doesn't compound. So the Postal Service saves a little bit of money by doing it that way.
Well, yeah, definitely.
So that just means it has to be a little bit higher if that's the way they're going to calculate it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not a true 1.5.
No, like it should be 1.5 where you're at then. You know,
Yeah, it should
that
be
would make
1.5 on
sense.
top of what you were already making.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So Dacia, I think that's how you pronounce her name, in San Francisco. I think that's where he lived too. San Francisco, carriers are making about $24 an hour starting, and the rent alone in California is $3,000 a month. The math ain't right.
Well, we just got a raise November 15th on Saturday. So the new starting pay is 26.24, 26.20 something. So it's up a little bit, but it's not high enough in San Francisco. And like we said, the pay has to be high enough for everybody. So I think $30 an hour is a good starting point.
I'm doing my
Now,
math now. You
if
said it's at
you
26 times
one
40.
question,
I think it's
one question.
26.24. I think that's what it is. If someone has the new pay chart, they can find it right quick.
So I got a quick question. If you raise starting pay to $30 an hour, would you prorate, like those
Right.
that have been in there, for,
Yeah, every
9
step would
years?
have to go up. Like
Right,
if
right.
the bottom step went up by $4,
Yeah,
like you said, then everyone would have to
right,
go up by that
right.
amount within the
I
pay
gotcha.
chart. Yep.
Yeah, I
Yep.
gotcha. Okay.
So according to what you said, for 2 weeks of pay at 26.24, that's $2,099. That's it. Now again, taxes are different in different states.
Yeah.
So that would be equivalent to about $4,200 a month. $4,200 a month, for every 2 weeks. Every 4 weeks for a carrier. That's $4,200 without taxes, without health insurance, without nothing taken out. She's saying that it's about $3,000 living out there. They can't live unless they have a significant other.
There's
No,
definitely a
just
dual income situation, but the pay is too low. It's 26.28 is the new starting pay, at least in San Francisco,
She
because
said
that's the part-time flexible rate.
She said on her check is $24.80 the last time she checked. Somebody said that is a $7 for a pair of socks. It's too much. It's
Yeah,
too
maybe.
much.
I'm trying to say I just bought some socks. I don't think they were $7, but I don't remember.
It might be right. Might be right. Will they eliminate 3 steps in the middle? Don't get prorated. Will they eliminated 3 steps and the middle didn't get prorated?
That's what Derek and I were just talking about.
yeah.
If you raise the bottom, you have to raise up all the steps in between.
Mm.
Yeah, the problem is he didn't do that this contract, but what are you gonna do? The people, they got a couple steps shaved, the people that just started out this last contract, where, when I started, we have to do all these time, and they got a little shortcut, like that's a little bit of a problem. They don't have to do as much time as we do, but.
Mike, what do you
The
say to the
steps the
people that
steps should have been shaved off the back. That's common sense, I feel like, but the
what do you
last
say to the people,
contract.
Mike,
I'm talking about the last contract.
that say you're not a pit bull? Do you need to be a pit bull
And
in order to get your contract done?
in the contract situation, yes, you need to be a pit bull because it's so bad, because the Postal Service has been doing the same shit for so many years. You know what I mean? You're in a situation you got to go in there and pound the table. Absolutely. I don't believe in pounding the table every day all the time just for the hell of it. But in the contract situation, yes, you would have to, because it's so bad. I would definitely pound the table. Like I said, I'm coming in there with thousands of letter carriers. We're surrounding the building. You know, we're making a big deal about it. We're bringing the media in. We're alerting everybody. We're talking to our congressional friends. We're saying this thing needs to get fixed 90 days per the law. We're gonna have one of them clocks, like them countdown clocks. We're gonna put that outside of NALC headquarters in Washington, D.C. You got
I like
90
it.
days to fix this shit. Let's
I
go.
like it. It's better than fight like hell. I like it.
Yeah.
So for Derek here that says he likes Corey because Corey's a pit bull.
Yeah,
What do
I
you say to
always
that?
call Corey a pit bull. You know, we need a pit bull.
I do.
You know?
I think he's
Yeah.
a beast.
Yeah.
So what do you say about that when it comes down to negotiations?
I mean, like, I like the sounds of Mike here. Like, you know, he sounds like a pit bull
Well,
too.
that's a question thrown at Mike.
Okay.
And like I say, I think that tactic. Look, everyone has their styles and their strategies and their whatever, right? Like I said, my approach is collaborative. I'm gonna utilize everybody. Sometimes you need the good cops, sometimes you need the bad cops, sometimes you need to be the one to kick the door in, sometimes you need to be the one to be reasonable, whatever, we're gonna implement whatever strategies and tactics we need to implement in order to get the job done. But this contract thing is a mess. It's a complete mess. And so we're not gonna come in soft at all on something like that. Now, some other situations may require a little finesse. I don't know. But
Okay. All
I like
right.
it. I like it.
Do you have any other questions? Shit, where my damn glasses at?
No, I'm good. I like it. I like what it's good to talk to you, Mike.
yeah, good to talk to you, my brother.
Yeah.
And
Good
for those
luck.
of you that look, if you vote for Corey Walton, when I say I'm collaborative, that means he's gonna be in the room. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Oh yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be the
Right.
I'm not gonna
Right.
be the type to go in there
Right.
by myself and whatever.
Yep.
Like everything
Yep.
is gonna be transparent. Whoever has the skills. I'll tell you guys another thing. We go into arbitration and we only utilize our attorneys in the arbitration process. And I think we have some very good arbitration advocates who could help us out in those contract negotiation arbitrations as well. And we never utilize them. We
Right.
act like they're inferior, and I don't think they are.
Right.
Speaking of someone like Corey, who has a great amount of experience with arbitration. And
Yeah.
look, I've never been, and I don't care who you guys vote for. I utilize everybody.
Yeah.
I know what people's skill sets are and where they can be useful to the members of the union. We're going to utilize them. I don't care if they vote for me, they don't vote for me, you vote for me, whatever. It doesn't, none of that matters to me, man. First of
Yeah.
all,
That's.
hey, dude, it's the secret ballot anyway. People get
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
worked up about
Yeah.
who's voting
Yeah.
for who. And I'm like, really? They're probably lying to you anyway. They're telling you they're voting for this person or
Yeah.
that person. If you're the president of the union, you can't look at it like that. You can't be petty and political and things like that. You just utilize the best people that you have, and everybody has their skill set. And if Corey's the pit bull, then we're going to utilize Corey as the pit bull in the situations that require a pit bull,
So he can be in the room as a vice
You
president.
you bring whoever you want into the room. The way the Constitution is written, the president oversees the collective bargaining process, and they utilize the people that they see fit. People on staff, professional people, other officers, the ones that they see fit.
So just correct me before we close this out. You're telling me that Brian Renfro can be in the room and have James Henry right there next to him, helping him negotiate their contract right now?
Yeah, if he wants to. If
He
he wants
needed
to.
nothing last time.
Man, I
Nothing.
told Brian Renfro we had a nice little talk before on the day that the contract negotiations started. We were in his office because I had gone on Corey Walton's podcast right before the start of last contract negotiations, and I tried to lay out a strategy and a vision for how we were going to accomplish a good contract. And the president was mad at me about it. He's like, "Why are you going on a podcast?" So we had this back and forth, and I volunteered my services. I said, "Look, man, I can help you out with this thing. I'm for the what's good for the letter carriers, And he told me he didn't need me. I said, all right, brother.
Yeah. I feel like he didn't delegate at all, and you're
Yeah,
willing to delegate. Yeah,
look, man, I think that he needed a couple pit bulls,
yeah,
and we were available, and he didn't call on us. So
yeah.
So that's what's happening right now. I mean, him going on the show with the next gen, you know those guys.
well, what is
Um,
I don't mean to cut you off, but what is President Renfro's strategy in 2026? Because I haven't heard one. I've heard we're doing all of this. Here's what our proposals are going to be. But what is our strategy to implement those proposals and get them into the next contract?
I'm
I
pretty
haven't I
sure
haven't heard that
it's
at all.
yeah. I'm pretty sure it's to sabotage the city water carrier,
I got
but
a
I'm not
question.
positive about that.
Steven
No,
Torres
I'm just
says,
kidding.
can we get Corey and Mike on the same ticket? You want to clarify that, sir?
Yeah, man. Despite what people are trying to tell you, there is no ticket on the ballot. There's no such thing as checking a box and voting for a group of people. You're going to be able to vote for who you want for president. You're going to vote for who you want for
Right,
executive vice
right,
president, and you're
right,
going to vote for who you want for vice president and director of safety and health and your
right.
secretary treasurer and whatever. So look, if Corey runs for the executive vice president and I'm running for president, and you want me as the president and Corey as the
And
executive
you
vice
can check
president,
both boxes.
check,
Right,
check. I mean, this
right,
it's
right.
it's available to you
It's
if
not
that's
like
what
it's
you
not
want.
like blue and red. Yeah, it's
It's
like check.
not at
Yeah,
all.
right, right.
Not at all. There's nothing
Yeah,
like that on
yeah,
the ballot.
right.
I
Well,
got a question for you, Derek.
Yep.
You said you was voting for Corey because he's a pit bull. Why did you not say you're voting for Henry? Because that's part of the CLC ticket.
Yeah. Because he did nothing for us in the last
All right.
contract.
You know what? We're not going to smear anybody's name. We're not here for that.
I'm not
All right.
smearing him. I'm not.
No,
I'm
I just
not
wanted to
doing that.
know. I didn't know if you knew the
I just
difference.
don't feel like he did enough for us, right? I mean, he didn't. Like his job as vice president was to, put him in check a little bit, and I don't
But
feel
I
like
don't
he
think
did
he
at
had the
all.
power. So I just read what Maurice, somebody just wrote. Henry claimed Renfro did everything by himself, and Mike Cariff just confirmed that. He just
Yeah.
said that Renfro
Right.
didn't want anybody helping him.
Right.
So we can't blame Henry for not being in the
But
room.
but don't you have to try? Don't you have to try? Like, do you think he try? Do you think he 100% gave it his all? Because, like, I know when you had James Henry on, he was very passive and very, didn't really answer questions. Mike is answering questions. Like, I don't know. You tell me.
I'm not saying I'm not voting for anybody. It's not my
No, I
unit. I
know,
just
I
want to
don't
know
know.
what
I'm
your
just,
thought
I'm just,
process
I'm
was.
just, I'm just asking you. Like, do you think he used his power to his best ability?
I don't know what he did behind the scenes. I'm reading comments stating that, and Cariff just confirmed it. He just said that Renfro wanted to do everything by himself. There's another
Oh
comment here
yeah,
that
yeah. I mean, I've heard the
says that
stories where a couple people said this contract's not good, and you still went and did it anyway. I think everyone's heard those stories, but I
and
don't
they
know. I
said Henry
just
was
I
complacent.
think for the past and for like if you're not the president, then you're not the president, and the president has
right.
to be accountable for the president's decisions to bring someone in the room or to get help or to
Yep.
whatever. But the question is, whoever's running for president, what is your plan? What is your strategy?
Right.
How do you plan on getting there? And
Right.
those are the questions that we need to be asking.
Right. Got. Yeah. I agree.
Look, I love the conversation. I
Yeah.
wanted to know if you were going to be on the side of the table too, because that's the new generation. As much as some of them
That's
suck.
that's the majority. That's 70% of the letter carriers right now.
I know,
And I feel
but
like we lose. We just always lose. Like with the Diet Colas and the furs. The furs really bugs me.
It
That
should.
would
bugs me.
It should.
would would you commit to trying to get them their 100% cola,
Yeah.
however possible? I know there's a lot of steps to go through it. Would you commit to whoever's watching right now? Say, look, this is one of the first actions that I will make my best attempt to try to get you guys 100% of this because I believe y'all deserve it.
Well, both of those things, you know, the 100% cola and the other thing is the first thing, you know, and that requires legislation, but that needs to get fixed.
It has to. It's not fair.
Or the postal service can cover the difference.
Right.
If you gotta pay, you know, 4%
Yeah.
more, they pay you
Yeah.
4% more, you
Yeah.
know, to cover it.
Well, just split the difference. You know, it's like, because I mean, every step I go up, Jesus, like I'm paying $114 in the furs, and I know, 30-year people are paying what, 16, 17?
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
such a low amount that you don't
Yeah,
even it's 0.8%. You don't even realize you're paying
right,
anything, really.
right, right. Yeah, that bugs that. Ooh,
I got one
that
last
grinds my
question.
gears.
Got one last question. And this will probably be the last one because it's past my bedtime. I'm supposed to be asleep at 8.
You didn't make it.
Way past. Way past.
This is a very, very strong question. If Cariff was in Henry's position, what would he have done?
You mean right now as the vice president?
When they were doing that whole negotiating thing?
Yeah, I think that the vice president can do a lot to, like, for example, you have a lot of issues contractually with the postal service that the vice president should be putting out information to help us out on and say, hey, here's arbitration awards, here's grievances that you guys can be filing, here's you know, the approach we should be taking in collective bargaining, here's the proposals that I've put forward regarding the grievance procedure and other things. um I think the vice president should be a lot more vocal and a lot more, you know, out there. But you know, maybe that's just not his personality. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking a shot at him, but you asked me if I was in that position, that's the approach I would take.
Can I ask
Okay.
one more question? Will we be informed with you as president of what's
Oh
going
man,
on?
I believe in communication and transparency 100%. Like
Okay.
they got to stop me. I'm like, we need to live
Yeah.
stream it. They're like, you can't live
Right.
stream everything. I'm like, why not? You know, I just think
Right.
that, you know, we the officers of the union work for you, the members of the union, not the other
Yep.
way around.
Yep.
And you know, you're paying me my salary, you're paying my expenses. I owe it to you to say, you know, here's what I'm up to. And when I was the union steward in my station, I'm always letting the people know I'm back in the office. Here's what I'm talking to them about. You know, here's the issues, and you know,
Right.
you have to have that. You have to.
Right. Right. Good. All right.
I appreciate that question.
Yeah. Good conversation.
Yes,
Nice
sir. Good to
talking.
meet you, brother.
Yeah. Really nice to meet you, Mike.
Jay, you good,
Good
man?
luck.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
So no, I was putting it on mute for a second. I know that a lot of people don't like my brash ways, and I'm okay with that. This is what I do. I try to hold a candle, a match to everybody. I expect people to do that to me as well. Accountability is something that people don't like nowadays. People don't like to be held accountable for their actions, and that's unfortunate. If I do something wrong, tell me I did something wrong. Um, but that's not going to change me. My platform has always been to be brash, to be respectful, and that's what I did to the best of my ability. If for some reason I offended you, Derek, I apologize you. If I
Can't defend
offended you,
me.
Mr. Mike, by trolling you the other day on your
It's all good.
on your shorts, I apologize. But that's what I do. I like to make sure I bring light to dark situations, whether you're a coworker standing right by my side or whether you're management, because I get along with everybody. Some of my best friends are managers, but I'm gonna call them dirtbags to their face. I don't say it behind their back. You're like, man, that was some fucked up shit you did, man. I can't. Nah, that's fucked up. You gotta fix that, and they respect me for that. That's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
So when I was talking about some of the carriers are trash, and I still stand by that. You know where I get that from? The carriers. Some people talk behind your back. I'm gonna tell them to your face. Some of the carriers are trash, and they're bringing down the whole craft. And that's what the whole purpose of this was. Want to know that they're going to be held accountable, because the ones that are slave laboring, like a Derek that's barely making it, for the Steven Torres that left left and came back just to try to make it, for the island and everybody else that I can't see. They struggle, but I tried my best to bring some of the shit that they go through to light. So other people like, no, man, fucked up what you did. Hey, it is what it is. But out of all respect, I respect you. I respect Chooch. I respect Derek, Mr. Walton. That is a pit bull. Got to give him that. He's a shit talker. I like that. Talking a little cursing too much. I thought I'd curse. Well, I got to go to church when I listen to
Yeah.
his shit.
Yeah.
And Mr. Henry is a very pleasant man. I respect the fact that you did not smear his name whatsoever. And that's honorable. That's honorable. You went through this whole thing, and hopefully Mr. Derek will make his decision, and hopefully you clarified for everybody. They could pick down it's not a slate. I never thought shit was slates anyway. That's why we call ourselves independents. At least I am. In closing, Mr. Cariff, you have the floor.
Well, I would just say thanks for the opportunity. It's been a long night. I hope I answered all the questions. I don't have all the answers. I'm not trying to, but I will tell you everything that I know and what I don't know. And we gotta kind of, work this thing out together. That's what this whole campaign is all about. I'm in the process of updating the platform once again. For those of you that have looked at it, we've updated a couple times. Going to update it some more. On careforprez.org, you can kind of see everything, not just the platform, but everything that's going on with the campaign. If you want to get involved in any way, we're always looking for volunteers, people to help out. If you want any of those case magnets, we got some case magnets that said it's about time we had a president who delivers. So
I like that.
if you guys want any of those, just send an email to that careforprez@gmail, and the campaign will send you out some. And if you got questions or things, I'm also going around the country. So if you want me to come out to your area, your branch, just let us know. We'll do that as well. And I will say the last words is be safe out there, man. It's 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 uh it's some rough. I know we had two people die in the plants recently in the last week or
Yeah.
so, and we had one of our guys got very horrible tragedy. He was off the clock, but he was not wearing his seatbelt, and he died, and his 5-year-old kid died. And that's just something you just never want to see. So I love you guys. Let's just do the best we can out here, and let's work together in solidarity. Jay, I appreciate you putting the program together. Derek, good to meet you, brother.
Yeah. Very well to meet you. Jay, thanks for the welcome
Yes.
back. I'll be
Appreciate you,
back. I'll be
man.
posting back. I'll be posting again in my regular clothes at home, saying the right things with my
Not the right
disclaimer.
things, your own feelings.
With my
Stay out of
Hey,
trouble.
disclaimer. Yeah. But
All
yeah,
right.
this was a good conversation. Thank you.
We appreciate that, man. And any other presidents, I've been presidents, vice presidents, shop stewards, y'all are more than welcome to reach out to me to chop it up. And that's all I gotta say about that. To my postal family in the chat, argue with each other later. This is JH, Mr. Cariff, and Mailman Derek, and we are out.
All right, that was good, man.